And good morrow, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. It is match day again. We are back at it. It is me, Macka, and joined by Jamie for now. How are you, Jamie?
Not too bad. Looking forward to the game.
Looks like it's going to be a good one. It's nice to get back at it. A few surprises, maybe. The Arsenal team when we get to it, I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm overconfident or anything like that, but it certainly doesn't scream something to be afraid of. Um, it's what did you predict again on the Thursday podcast? It was a high score in 3-2 or something, four
I,
three,
I went for I went for 4-3, and I went for
four
pretty
three.
much the same lineup as what we've got. I'm excited to see Nunes given the start. So good news.
Um, we have the lineups. Let's go. Just jump straight into it. Here's ours. It's not the 4-3-3 we predicted by the looks of things. It looks like it's the 4-2-3-1. What do you think to that?
Yeah, I'm excited. I know we spoke on Thursday about getting the front four more involved, and now's the time basically. But the bench looks good too, so can't complain.
It's we talked about Henderson. He's not getting any younger, and he's definitely not getting any quicker. And Arsenal have been playing like a fairly high paced level of soccer this season. Do you think he might be the weak link in the midfield, or do you think that this new role will actually suit him because he has less running to do?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's had his critics, and like you rightly said, none of us are getting any younger, Jordan Henderson included. But I think with his experience, we're going to need some of that wisdom, and let's hope that he has enough in the tank to marshal that midfield along with Thiago. I know there was a lot of rumors floating around that Thiago was injured because he missed out on training. Um, but apparently he had media duties and wasn't there to be photographed. So everybody's panics were ill-advised, shall we say.
Um, Front four, Nunes. Do you think maybe we always like to romantically think that a forward who isn't scoring as well as he possibly could have, um, has that one game where it all goes right for them? Do you think this might be the game for Nunes up front?
Well, that's it. I think after the Thursday night podcast, we kind of have a bit of time to sit back and analyze what we were saying, and I read somewhere that apparently Nunes is getting a chance on goal, a shot on goal every 12 minutes he's on the pitch, which does bode well. Like we said on Thursday night, he is making a lot of those good runs. He is making his way into the spaces, so he's making himself available, and he's taking his opportunities on goal. So it's only a matter of time before some of them start dropping in, and maybe on the road away from the stress of life at Anfield and the pressure of the cop, maybe they start flying in.
We're gonna be joined here by Alex Sandusky, who strapped himself in for hopefully an exciting game.
Yeah,
How are you, Alex?
pretty good.
We were just talking about the lineup there. Let's put it back up. It's the 4-2-3-1 that we kind of were hoping to see on Thursday. What do you think to the lineup and the formation change?
Well, like I said after the Rangers game on Wednesday, I said that's probably the formation that they're most comfortable in by the looks of it. We look the most solid on defense. We look solid in the midfield, and we look solid going forward. So I just think it's the formation we'll probably see for most of the season because the players just look more comfortable in that 4-2-3-1.
It's certainly, we just talked there about we think Nunes is knocking on the door a lot. Do you think Arsenal will be, maybe with their more open soccer, might be the opponents that he starts to put the goals into his account?
Yeah, I think the same. I think the same too. I was actually kind of surprised that Jota's right behind him. I thought Firmino would come in and play that position, but looking back at it, when I was thinking on Tuesday night versus Rangers, I thought he played very well. right behind Nunez. I think he was just a little unlucky that some of the shots didn't go in, or the chances didn't follow him. But I think he's going to do well today.
On that note, as much as we might think that Bobby might be an ideal foil there in that number 10 position, it's almost, I think, maybe, see if you lads agree, he works in that false 9 position better than maybe if he has somebody in front of him, because somebody in front of him takes the space away for him to run into. So do you think that maybe went into the thinking behind Jota being the number 10, Jamie?
Yeah, possibly. And I mean, look, Bobby can always come on and do wonders in the second half. So let's use Jota's effervescence, his directness, his eye for goal. You know, he's a very selfish striker, and I love to see that. Bobby's the complete opposite, if you will, the yin to the yang to his yin, or whatever you want to word that. But I think let's start hard and heavy. Let's kick this game off right. Let's get that rock and roll gegenpressing, and you know, let's go straight for the throat here. Let's see if we can take the game to them.
Alex, we have Nunez up front. Just on paper and by appearance alone, you would think he would be the aerial danger. But Jota is actually probably the best attacking header of a ball we have on the team. Do you think that might be something that will surprise Arsenal if they pay too much attention to Nunez, that Jota might be the one that gets the headers?
I mean, would it surprise Arsenal? Because he got didn't he get a header in the Carabao Cup? I thought he got.
Cameron Stewart says Jota versus Arsenal shooting fish in a barrel, so you might be right there.
Yeah, I'm like, they probably might.
He got 2 goals, didn't he? He got 2 goals in the cup against them.
They might be more fearful of Jota than maybe Nunez at first, because they know what Jota can do against them on that back line. And I think that was the same back line that played against us too. So they might be a little bit more wary of Jota slipping in there to try to scramble up the second chance, basically. So
I mean, I think that's the key thing about Jota, right? He can score with his right foot, he can score with his left foot, and he can score with his header. So he can play it all across the front 3. So he really is the ideal man to be right in there in that position, right behind Nunez. So let's see if some of those front 4 can grab a goal from open play, because I know we were talking about that on Thursday night. But I think there's a strong opportunity. I had earmarked Diaz for a bright game today, so I'm very hopeful with the front 4 that we've got out there that we can make a mark.
In terms of, I mean, just in terms of this front 4, we know what Bobby can give us, but the unpredictability of the Jota Nunez combination, plus Diaz, plus Salah, who's, even if he's not on form, he's always a danger. It's almost like an embarrassment of riches up front today, isn't it? Whether they achieve anything or not, psychologically, it's a lot of danger for Arsenal to take into account, isn't it, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, going back to that for how I was talking about the formation, I also think Salah looks a lot more comfortable in this formation. He has a lot more space to work in with. He was cutting in pretty well Tuesday. And I think he just seems more comfortable out there on that right side in the 4-2-3-1 than the 4-3-3. So I think my prediction is I think Jota's going to score, and I think Salah is going to score, but I think Nunez is going to be a contributor to both goals somehow, some way. So I think it's going to be a good game today.
Let's look at the back. In terms of, actually, let's look at the Arsenal lineup first, just so you know what we're dealing with. It's Jesus up front. We have Matip, and we have Matip and Van Dijk. How are they going to cope with Jesus, Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, he's doing rather well recently, isn't he? Really come out of his shell and become. You know, he's done interviews recently that he said he was invited straight into the fold at Arsenal. So he's been given a new lease of life. I would suggest, and I had done on Thursday night, that probably the best way to attack him is to get a man to stand on him immediately, get tight to him. I know there is can be a difficult situation with a live wire striker where you get too touch tight and he can just turn you and burn you. But I think let him know you're there early, and maybe Verge and Joel take turns at physically letting them know they're there. But it'll be interesting to see, that's for sure.
Alex, there's obviously been a lot of talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold. A dip in form focuses the criticism on his defensive role a lot more, regardless of whether it's actually true. The perception has been that he hasn't been as good defensively. Do you think he'll stand up to the test of Jesus, who likes to flow out into that side, or are we looking at yet another, let's point the finger at Trent for a goal situation here today?
Well, like I said on Tuesday, or like I said on Wednesday after the Tuesday game, I said he went back to the basics when he played on Tuesday, and he looked a lot better. I think we're going to see a lot more of that today. Maybe not so high up the pitch, but we're definitely going to see him just keep it to the basics. And he just looked a lot more comfortable when he was doing that. I think the biggest problem with him the past couple of weeks, he was just trying a little bit too hard to provide that goal or score a goal. He was just trying a little bit, and that comes from dip in form. You want to be involved with numbers, but he was just doing a little bit too much. He wasn't just kind of letting it fall into place. So I think you'll see him keep it simple today. I think he'll have a really good game. He just needs one or two good games, and then he goes back on a tear. So,
Jamie, Klopp said after I think the Palace game, it's time to go back to basics. Do you think maybe that's possibly more what he was referring to in terms of how the fullbacks play than forwards, or the formation that we talked about?
It could be. You never really can tell with Klopp. It's difficult to say. The wing backs and the fullback situation right now is all being talked about in the media, and we're all fed up with it, trying to defend our defenders. But I think the Rangers game does go a long way to doing a lot of good work for squashing those debates, because if you have noticed, it's been very quiet on the Trent front this past couple of days. Robbo is coming back into training, but I know Saikas, I know Costas has his critics, but I think he's very good on the ball. He's good defending. He's also good attacking, and his delivery's pretty, second to none almost on the team. So good couple of performances against big teams, which is exactly what we've got coming up now. Can only do wonders for, like I said, squashing those beefs and the constant media content that's being all surrounding Trent, which we're all sick of, to be honest.
Let's look at the lineups there. It seems like, a like for like formation against formation. My question on the Arsenal side is, we talked about Henderson at the start, and the different role that he'll be playing now, the more conservative role almost, not the all action running around the place Henderson we're used to. But who wins the battle in midfield, especially with Xhaka in there, who's prone to put a foot in on somebody, and we really want to protect Thiago, don't we? Is this going to be where the game, it's cliched that the game is won and lost in midfield, but is this going to be the case for this game specifically, Alex?
Yeah, I think it will. And the thing is like, when I look at the Arsenal midfield, is both Arsenal midfielders, Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka, they're kind of shaky. granted, Xhaka will always have like a moment of madness in any game. I mean, he can get a straight red. He can do something that will get him sent off. And and Partey's not exactly the most comfortable with having the ball sometimes, and I feel like that shows a lot of the time. And he will he might turn the ball over and put Liverpool on the counterattack. I think if Liverpool can win, like if we can sustain the pressure with Henderson and Thiago, I think we can win that midfield battle.
Jamie, you just saw that Arsenal back four. Let's look at it again. It's, for me, it's not a very inspiring back four. It doesn't seem something that we should be afraid of. Is there anything in there that screams we're going to get stopped today?
I mean, they are on form. They're playing really well. The back four too. Gabriel, Saliba, even Ben White. They are doing pretty well as a team. Definitely a word on Partey as well. He came in with a rather big fee, didn't he? And he, I know absolutely Alex is spot on. You never know what you're going to get with Xhaka. He can put one in the top bins from 35 yards out, or he can get a red card. Straight red or 2 yellows, doesn't matter. He's a bit of an enigma. But Partey's definitely turning up the heat and putting in some good performances, kind of backing up his big price tag. But Saliba is a great defender. Ben White is definitely doing well too, and they are doing well. Tomiyasu maybe could be seen as the weak link there, but in all honesty, the centre back pairing are doing great. So difficult to see a way through. Maybe we've got a couple of worldies of our own, 35 yards out. We could do with a couple of strikes from outside the box, maybe to open things up, and maybe we grab the second ball, because that was something that crept back into our game with the Rangers game. We were pressing, and we were winning our second balls, and we were collecting the bits in between the lines. So hopefully that can be a part of our game today. Show that grit, determination, and exactly what it takes to win big games like this, because it's not going to be handed to us on a plate. They are up there. They were top of the league up until City won. So they're up there with a good reason. Everybody's talking about them being the best team in the league apart from City. So the second best team in the league, then, is that what it is? Do you know what I mean? So they're up there with good reason, and it's up to us to take the game to them at the Emirates today. So let's hope we do.
I think you're right then as well on Xhaka's unpredictability. He could be great on the day, or he could get sent off in 2 seconds, because if anybody can, Xhaka can. Well, Alex, Jamie made a good point there about maybe the Arsenal left back being the weak link. If that is the case, you think this is going to open things up for Salah to get an open play goal rather than a penalty today if he gets a goal at all?
Yeah, I think it'll open up. I think my biggest concern is we say that Tomiyasu is the weak link, and to be honest, I think he might be the only reason why he's the weak link is because the other three are playing so well. And then you have a fantastic goalkeeper behind you, Ramsdale, that should be England's number one. But I think Salah will have a little bit more joy against Tomiyasu. I think I would have been more concerned if Zinchenko was playing on that right side. But I think Salah will have a little bit of freedom with Tomiyasu. I mean, Tomiyasu also came back from injury, so he's probably got that in the back of his mind. So it could be an interesting day for Salah. He could bag two. Who knows what will happen?
In my experience in life in general, it's always been like your back four or back five or back three or whatever numbers you want to put in there are almost only as good as the man between the sticks. Jamie, how much are we giving credit to the back four for being so good this season, and how much should we really be giving to Ramsdale because he is a top class keeper now, isn't he?
He is. He really is, and despite his youth and even the old poison chalice of being involved with the England setup, he's doing rather well. Which, I mean, you're absolutely right. Full credit has to go to him being a focal point of their back five. But the two go hand in hand, really. You know, you can't have one without the other. And you know, well, unless you're Liverpool, who are blessed with Ali and nets. You know, even when we haven't been firing on all cylinders at the back, we've been lucky enough to have the holy goalie pull us out more than once. Ramsdale isn't that at that caliber. He's not divined holy right that Allison is, but he is a good pair of hands. So in combination with a decent informed back four, he's become an issue. You know, he's doing really well for Arsenal, and the two definitely go hand in hand for me.
Alex, I just looked up there while Jamie was talking. It seems to me that Ramsdale has had to make 2 saves per game, which means teams are getting 2 shots on target, maybe 2.5 if you take into account the goals that they're conceding. Is there going to be a game for goalkeepers today? We talk about the midfield, we talk about the up front, but is it going to be one of those games where goalkeepers are going to be contending for man of the match?
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to the goalkeeper because, I mean, Ali's really kept us in a lot of games this season. I mean, he's really kept us in games. And if I remember correctly, too, with the Carabao Cup against Arsenal, he really kept that tie a 2-0 tie because he made a lot of fantastic saves against Liverpool. I mean, easily that tie last year could have been 7-0 as a tie. I mean, he really kept them in it. So I think it will be a game of goalkeepers. You know, Allison has that little bit more experience, so that's going to pay off. But yeah, it's definitely going to come down to those two.
There was once a little bit of beef and needle between the two managers today. And it's very rare to see Klopp go at it with somebody, and it's definitely more rare to see Mikel Arteta going at it with somebody because he's made of Lego and he'd fall apart easily. Those things tend to like die a death at the final whistle. But it's two very passionate managers. Jamie, do you think we're expecting more fireworks today, depending on how the game goes?
Macka, you may be very careful with these Lego calls. You're going to be getting a court case. You'll be getting sued here
I'm trying to get a sponsorship.
Yeah, all right, good luck with that one. No, in all seriousness, you're absolutely right. Those things do die a death at the 90-minute mark, and unless you're Conte and Tommy Tuchel, you shake hands and amicably hit the showers, so to speak, at the end. I think, look, they're two passionate managers. You're always going to have that give and take on the sideline, and Klopp is definitely no stranger to a bit of emotion on the sideline, as we all know. I think if things go well for us, you know, Klopp will have that, and even when things don't go well for us, Klopp can smile. You know, he's a truly a great man, because if it was me on the sidelines, there'd be a lot more of a fracas, let's just say. So yeah, I think if we can make our mark, we can keep Klopp fairly quiet on the sidelines.
Alex, on a serious note about the managers, we talked before on American Scouser TV about Klopp's lack of use of substitutes, or the maximum number of substitutes available, making like-for-like substitutions. How impactful do you think the managers are going to be today?
I think whenever the first goal goes in, I guess is when we're going to see the managers really work, because I think it's going to be a lot of the first parts of the game is going to be both of them respecting each other. And first is that as soon as that first goal goes in, let's see who reacts to whoever scores is going to come down. How that manager reacts is how the team's going to react. So if Liverpool go down, Klopp will probably still keep it at the basics, but he'll probably tell them to turn it up, fix some stuff in halftime and then go at it for the last 45. So it really depends.
Gally there says the first goal is critical for us today. We don't know which way that's going to go, so it's going to be critical either way.
I was going to say that's kind of stating the obvious, but yeah, no, he's absolutely right, isn't it? Depending on who the first goal is for.
Yeah, it's usually us. Let's try and change that. We're going to make a halftime substitution. Alex, enjoy the game today, mate. Thanks for coming on. And strap yourself in extra because it could be a high scoring one. We will talk to you soon. Enjoy the game, mate.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring in our substitute. It's the Roberto Firmino of American Striker. Good morning. How are you?
Not too shabby. Ready to roll.
What did you think of the lineup today?
I don't know, man. Speaking of Bobby, I was kind of hoping to have Bobby in there instead of Nunez, but hey, I mean, this 4-6 or 4-4-2 or whatever the hell Klopp wants to call it, the 4-2-3-1 worked, and I guess we get to see it now, right? We were like, it worked because it was the Rangers. Well, we'll get to see it now against the top team right now. Well, I don't know if they're right now, but in the Premier League. So I don't know. Big game for Nunez, as I like to say for Ox. But
we were talking about the midfield battle, Xhaka and Partey, and Arsenal they went hard to get that player for a lot of money because, as everybody knows, you got to fight for your right to Partey.
I did not miss these puns. Okay, go ahead.
You didn't bring your drum kit. You didn't bring your drum kit today, no?
I got to get a drum kit sound for Thursday night. But I was going to say, yes. So it's Partey and Xhaka against Thiago and Henderson. We know Henderson is getting slower, so this role might now help him a lot more because he has less coverage to do. But at the same time, we said Xhaka is capable of being the best midfielder on the planet or Vinnie Jones reincarnated. How important do you think the midfield battle is today?
I think that's why I was going for Bobby personally, because I think the closest person we have in that front four to a midfielder is probably Bobby over Jota. So that's why I was thinking more like Bobby with Jota ahead of him, because I think Bobby can help in midfield more than Jota can. So that's the tricky part. But I think you're still really crowding that midfield by, I mean, we still play a high line just because we play 4-2. It's not like we pushed the line back. So that group is really still close. That 6, if you want to look at it, that 6 is still pretty close. So I think that's not going to be as much of an issue, but it still is going to be, honestly, it all boils down to how effective our press is going to be, right? Once they break that press, we don't have speed in midfield. So you're going to be in trouble with, especially the speed they have on the wings who can cut in. We're going to be in trouble. So it's all about that press and really how well Nunez does with that press, because we know how the other ones can do. It's just a matter of how, Nunez does.
Jamie, I was going to say that as well. If we're looking at how we press, Nunez looks like he's getting it sometimes, and then other times he looks like Mario Balotelli has returned and gone the ponytail. And not out of laziness. It's sometimes he doesn't cues that the rest of the players understand. We talked about the layers of mistakes that happen to create a goal. Are we looking at Nunez maybe not pressing when he's supposed to, and then that's where the goal is going to come from if we concede today?
If we concede, look, we know. Sorry, lads, you there. What's going on?
That was a tricky question. Jamie
cut me off.
froze.
You haven't paid your bill again, Jamie. You haven't paid your bill.
The internet was fine until Timuchin came in here.
Hey, it's like the whole Turkish thing. It just throws it off.
No, for me, I think obviously our press starts from the front. But I don't know if it, like Timuchin was kind of alluding to, I don't think, without Bobby being there, I think Jota and Nunez's role today is to do the pressing work, but it's also to be direct. And I think we're looking to Jota to be the presser and maybe Nunez to have a bit more of an eye towards goal. So hopefully the quality in your face defending is done by Jota, the more live wire, than it is by Nunez, if you know what I mean.
Timuchin, we haven't spoken about him actually much today. I think we mentioned him once, possibly just the name of the lineup, but he's such a quiet assassin. Do you think Diaz will make a massive impact on the game today, or will he just do a very good but work-a-day performance?
Well, I hope so. He's on my fantasy team, so let's hope we get something out of that. But yeah, I mean, really, this system, like the way we played, and I don't know if it was because Rangers were sitting so far back and you had to have some kind of movement, but it felt like everybody was all over the place. And I think that suits Diaz more than personally, like, for example, like a player like Mo, who, likes the wing, likes to cut in, but in a certain area. You don't see, Mo wandering off too much into like the left or anything like that. Whereas Diaz likes to kind of float around, and I think this enables him to do that. The only danger I see with that is at times it affects our press, because when we lose the ball, we can't press right away because now Diaz is on the right-hand side and there's nobody pressing on the left-hand side. So it's kind of like that positional discipline. But I mean, really, I was thinking about this earlier. I think it was like yesterday. I was talking to somebody. If you look at the season so far, and if you had to pick like an old school MVP, if you will, American style, I mean, apart from Alisson, Diaz is probably your second player, right?
I would go the top player because we've conceded so many. Alisson is kind of taken out of the equation there because that's his job really to stop those. But he has been fantastic, hasn't he? He's not. We compared him on the Tours That I podcast, Jamie, didn't we, to Suarez sometimes. He just has that Suarez about him, but without any of the arrogance. Like, you almost want them to be more arrogant, to think he is the best player in the field. Jamie, do you think, he does work, but do you think we need a little bit more craziness out of him, so to speak?
I think that sort of, that part of a player, it's either in you or it isn't. And I don't think it is in Diaz. It could be the more comfortable he becomes within the squad. But I think what you see is what you get with Luis Diaz. He's a hardworking, all for the team. He's essentially a Colombian attacking Robbo. Do you know what I mean? He's hardworking, never quits. And I've definitely earmarked him to be the live wire and be the difference maker for us today. I think he's, like I said, he offers so much going forward and gives the defender so many problems that they end up questioning in which way he's going to go, what he's going to do. And he has the innate ability that a lot of South American players have. He can ride. He can ride a bad tackle and bounce off it and continue on, like we've seen with the Rangers penalty. He has, despite his stature, a lot of strength. And whether that's because he's so powerful in breaking his speed or whatnot, but I think he's really going to be a standout for us going forward, and like Timuchin said, he's probably up there as one of our top performers so far this season.
I would have said a Colombian Stuart Downing, to be fair.
behave, Macka. You'll be getting fined a week's wages after that comment.
I can't have that happen. There's not enough money for the gin, then for the milk. You talked before about I'll be drinking. Oh man, what's that about? We love to see Matip going forward. Arsenal are the kind of open team that gives them the space to do that, but they're also a very dangerous counter-attacking team with their speed. Which way would you prefer to see it? Would you prefer to see him taking the risk anyway, or would you prefer to see him play more conservative?
Really depends on like how the front four do, right, in terms of being able to create something without. It's going to be interesting to see this new formation and how it affects that spacing, because now with those two defensive midfielders playing a bit more, almost like a bit more back, it almost feels like it will clog up that space a little bit, where normally, those guys are kind of spread a bit wider and ahead. So there is that opening where Matip can run into. But at the same time, it can create a spot for Matip to run into and Hendo just to slide back to cover that spot a lot easier instead of Van Dijk sliding over or Trent having to stay back. So it's going to be, if you're asking me, I would rather have him take those chances, because I think they're always effective, even though teams know, he's capable of it. It's very hard to defend because he picks his spots really well. And it's Matip, like you don't know what the hell he's going to do when he's like coming at you, like legs and arms going all over the place. So you don't really know. And the dude can pass. It's not like, some of these center backs can just go and it's like full speed, it's like a fullback in football. They're just going like straight ahead. Whereas Matip has that vision and that touch to be able to like pass the ball too. So you can't really go at him to like kind of like close down, because you don't want to leave space behind because he can pass. I'd rather have him roll the dice, because I think we get a lot out of that. I mean, you look over time, some of the goals he has created, there's a lot of them. So I'd rather have him take that chance. You have Hendo there to be able to slide back to cover that space now. So yeah, just roll with it. I mean, we're going to need some really good individual performances today if we're going to get anything out of this game. And really, like, you look at these next two games, you got to get 4 points one way or the other, at least.
Jamie, do you agree, or do you have a different take on it?
I mean, I kind of do. I don't think there is such a thing as containing no context Joel Matip. Do you know what I mean? He does what he wants when he wants. And I'm fine with that. Like Timuchin was saying, he can be that driving force from the back. And similarly, when we're asking our forwards to defend from the front, we're also asking our defenders to attack from the back. So Virgil has that wonderful diagonal pass, and Matip has that wonderful slalom going on an adventure giraffe role that he plays so well. But Timuchin made a couple of great points there with the midfield too. We do have to spread the ball about a bit more and keep those two working in tandem. So I think, like Timuchin said, we definitely need a couple of standout performances, but collectively as well, we need to be on it as a team. And that goes for Trent and Henderson and Mo on the right-hand side. Mo was tracking back and doing his defensive duties against Rangers. I'd like to see that trend continue. I'd like to see a bit more from Tsimikas at left back. He was probably too high up, but I don't want to have him lost. Similarly, Trent, we need good defensive performances today, and we need to really get in early and see if we can't get them to make a mistake.
Before we go, there is another game on today after hours. It's Everton United. Timuchin, do you think it's possible that both teams could lose at the same time today?
Yeah, that's what I'm rooting for. Well, I bet on the over on that one in terms of number of goals. I'm hoping it's like an entertaining game to watch, but I'll be watching the Fenerbahce game instead of that one. Just follow that on the phone, probably more than anything else.
Jamie, before we get to our final wrap up, who do you think gets more injured players, or who do you hope, rather, Everton or United?
I don't know. That's a difficult one. No, it's got to be United. We'll be safe betting there with a couple of decent injuries, and a 0-0 loss would be nice, wouldn't it?
as long as Frank Lampard cries, I don't quite care either way.
Exactly.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. So
It'll be hard to watch with the hard to watch with the curtains drawn.
Final score prediction now that we know the lineups. Jamie, stick with the 4-3.
I did go for a slightly mad one with a 4-3. I think there will be a goal in it. So I'll stick with the slightly mad 4-3.
Tamuchin?
I'm not as optimistic, man. My heart says 3-1, but my brain says 2-2.
I've got to stick with my 4-2 prediction from Thursday. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us. We're all going to go get coffee, gin, milk, and etc. to enjoy the game. Make sure you like, subscribe, and follow us. Discord, YouTube, Facebook. And if you don't, Tamuchin's going to send Turkish delights to your houses, and you have to eat them all. And they're disgusting.
You fucking wish.
They are disgusting. They're mommy's chocolate.
I love them.
Oh, Jay,
I love them.
You
Not a
know
fan.
them. Oh, weird.
The fries Turkish delight. Are you joking?
And join us tomorrow, I think, for the morning coffee, and then tomorrow evening for the Monday podcast. It's great stuff. Make sure you watch, listen, enjoy the game, and we will see you all soon.
Take care, guys.
Peace out.